Now we have begun to speak of the Tatars, I have plenty to tell you on that subject. The Tatar custom is to spend the winter in warm plains, where they find good pasture for their cattle, whilst in summer they betake themselves to a cool climate among the mountains and valleys, where water is to be found as well as woods and pastures. They live on the milk and meat which their herds supply, and on the produce of the chase, and they eat all kinds of flesh, including that of horses and dogs, and Pharaoh's rats, of which there are great numbers in burrows on these plains. Their drink is mare's milk. They are very careful not to meddle with each other's wives, and will not do so on any account, holding that to be an evil and abominable thing. The women, too, are very good and loyal to their husbands, and notable housewives withal. 10 or 20 of them will dwell together in charming peace and unity, nor shall you ever hear an ill word among them. All their harness of war is excellent and costly. Their arms are bow and arrows, swords and maces, but above all the bow, for they are capital archers, indeed the best that are known. On their backs they wear armour prepared from buffalo and other hides, which is very strong. They are excellent soldiers and passing valiant in battle. They are also more capable of hardships than other nations. For many a time, if needs be, they will go for a month without any supply of food, living only on the milk of their mares and on such game as their bows may win for them. Their horses also will subsist entirely on the grass of the plains, so that there is no need to carry store of barley or straw or oats, and they are very docile to their riders. These, in case of need, will abide on horseback the livelong night, armed at all points, while the horse will be continually grazing. When a Tatar prince goes forth to war, he takes with him, say, 100,000 horses. Well, he appoints an officer to every 10 men, 1 to every 100, 1 to every 1,000, and 1 to every 10,000, so that his own orders have to be given to 10 persons only, and each of these 10 persons has to pass the orders only to another 10, and so on, no one having to give orders to more than 10. And every one in turn is responsible only to the officer immediately over him, and the discipline and order that comes out of this method is marvellous, for they are a people very obedient to their chiefs. This video is sponsored by Squarespace, a great choice if you want to increase your online presence. Squarespace is a big supporter of history content and education in general on YouTube, and if you aren't so good with technology, like me, they are an invaluable tool when it comes to setting up your slick-looking website, with an easy-to-use interface and blogging tools to help elevate your website from this to this. Head over to squarespace.com for your free trial, and when you are ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/voices to get 10% off. Thanks. And when the army is on the march, they always have 200 horsemen, very well mounted, who are sent a distance of 2 marches in advance to check the area, and these always keep ahead. When they are going on a distant expedition, they take no gear with them except 2 leather bottles for milk, a little earthenware pot to cook their meat in, and a little tent to shelter them from the rain. And in case of great urgency, they will ride 10 days on end without lighting a fire or taking a meal. On such an occasion, they will sustain themselves on the blood of their horses, opening a vein and letting the blood jet into their mouths, drinking till they have had enough and then staunching it. When they come to an engagement with the enemy, they will gain the victory in this fashion. They never let themselves get into a regular medley, but keep perpetually riding round and shooting into the enemy. And as they do not count it any shame to run away from battle, they will sometimes pretend to do so, and in running away they turn in the saddle and shoot hard and strong at the foe, and in this way cause great havoc. Their horses are trained so perfectly that they will double hither and thither just like a dog in a way that is quite astonishing. Thus they fight to as good purpose in running away as if they stood and faced the enemy, because of the vast volleys of arrows that they shoot in this way, turning round upon their pursuers, who are fancying that they have won the battle. All this that I have been telling you is true of the manners and customs of the genuine Tartars, but I must also add that in these days they are greatly degenerated, for those who are settled in Cathay have taken up the practices of the idolaters of the country and have abandoned their own institutions, whilst those who have settled in the Levant have adopted the customs of the Saracens. Now I have told you about the manners and customs of the Tartars, but you have heard nothing yet of the great state of the Grand Khan, who is the lord of all the Tartars and the supreme imperial court. The personal appearance of the Great Khan, Lord of Lords, whose name is Kublai, is such as I shall now tell you. He is of a good stature, neither tall or short, but of a middle height. He has a becoming amount of flesh and is very shapely in all his limbs. His complexion is white and red, the eyes black and fine, the nose well formed and well set on. He has 4 wives, who he retains permanently as his legitimate consorts, and the eldest of his sons by those 4 wives ought by rights to be the emperor, when his father dies. Those 4 ladies are called empresses, but each is distinguished also by her proper name, and each of them has a special court of her own, very grand and ample, no one of them having fewer than 300 fair and charming damsels. He has also a great number of concubines. You must know that there is a tribe of Tartars called Ungrat, who are noted for their beauty. Now, every year 100 of the most beautiful maidens of this tribe are sent to the Great Khan, who commits them to the charge of certain elderly ladies dwelling in his palace. And these old ladies make the girls sleep with them in order to ascertain if they have sweet breath and do not snore, and are sound in all their limbs. Then such of them as are approved beauty and are good and sound in all respects are appointed to attend on the emperor by turns, to serve him in any way and to be entirely at his orders. And so throughout the year there are reliefs of maidens by 6 and 6, changing every 3 days and nights. You must know that for 3 months of the year, to wit December, January and February, the Great Khan resides in the capital city of Cathay, which is called Kambaluk, and which is in the northeastern extremity of the country. In that city stands his great palace. Now, there was on that spot in old times a great and noble city called Kambaluk, which is as much as to say in our tongue, the city of the emperor. But the Great Khan was informed by his astrologers that this city would prove rebellious and raise great disorders against his imperial authority. So he caused the present city to be built close beside the old one, with only a river between them. And he caused the people of the old city to be removed to the new town that he had founded, and this is called Taidu. You must know that the city of Kambaluk hath such a multitude of houses, and such a vast population inside the walls and outside, that it seems quite past all possibility. There is a suburb outside each of the gates, which are 12 in number, and these suburbs are so great that they contain more people than the city itself. There are in each of the suburbs, to a distance of a mile from the city, numerous fine hostelries for the lodgment of merchants from different parts of the world, and a special hostelry is assigned to each description of people, as if we should say there is one for the Lombards, another for the Germans, and a third for the Frenchmen. You must know that it is forbidden to bury any dead body inside the city. If the body be that of an idolater, it is carried out beyond the city and suburbs to a remote place assigned for the purpose to be burnt. And thus the city is preserved in a better and more healthy state. Moreover, no public woman resides inside the city, but all such abide outside in the suburbs. And 'tis wonderful what a vast number of these there are for the foreigners. The emperor's mint, then, is in this same city of Cambaluc, and the way it is wrought is such that you might say he hath the secret of alchemy in perfection, and you would be right, for he makes his money after this fashion. He makes them take of the bark of a certain tree, in fact, the mulberry tree, the leaves of which are the food of the silkworms, and this they make into something resembling sheets of paper, but black. When these sheets have been prepared, they are cut up into pieces of different sizes. The smallest of these sizes is worth a half tonsil, a little larger 1 tonsil. One, a little larger still, is worth half a silver groat of Venice, another a whole groat, other yet 2 groats, etc., etc. Anyone forging it would be punished with death. With these pieces of paper made as I have described, he causes all payments on his own account to be made, and he makes them to pass currency universally over all his kingdoms and provinces and territories. And nobody, however important he may think himself, dares to refuse them on pain of death. Now I will tell you of his alms and great charity to the poor in the city of Cambaluc. You see, he causes selection to be made of a number of families in the city who are in a state of poverty, and of such families some may consist of 6 in the house, some of 8, some of 10. And each family he causes annually to be supplied with wheat and other corn sufficient for the whole year. And this he never fails to do every year. And so some 30,000 people go for it every day from year's end to year's end. Now this is a great goodness in the emperor to take pity of his poor people thus, and they benefit so much by it that they worship him as if he were God.